Hey.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
We have a name.
We do.
Glory be.
Yep.
Glory be to God.
Yeah.
We're trying to be lively. We had a late night.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back. We haven't actually recorded in quite some time. So we have a name. All our profiles are now good.
Yep.
And
I don't know. I think that's kind of it, update-wise. We'll try to be more consistent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So first we're going to do thing of the day.
Our thing of the day.
Which today is a question. The question is, if you were to die tomorrow, what would you do today if money was not a thing? You can pick one thing that you would do today if you knew you were going to die tomorrow.
My original answer is fly to Greece.
Yeah.
Vacation in Greece.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to die in Greece, though. I feel like, yes, if I could bring my pets and my mom with me. Money's not an object, so,
yeah.
I mean, that's
true.
Yep. And maybe, and you know what? I'd treat myself on the flight there. I'd go first class. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. I would also, I don't know if it has to specifically be Greece. Greece is kind of just the mood.
The vibe right now.
But someplace hot and warm and sunny. I don't know, just think of paradise. And that's where I would want to go, even though that's where you're going after anyway.
Yeah. Pre-paradise.
Yeah. You gotta prep yourself.
Gotta be ready. Gotta get used to it.
Yeah, so as you can tell, we both like
Greece. We're a little transfixed on Greece.
Just a bit right now.
Okay. Next segment, we'll get a little bit deeper, and then we'll go into our main topic.
Yeah.
So we're going to do Hearing God's Voice, and that's where one of us just talks about how we've heard God in, like, a little way recently. Which is me today. So I'm reading through Matthew, and a couple days ago, maybe middle of last week, I was in Matthew 16. And I've read it before, and it's like a very repeated passage. It's the part where Jesus is talking about taking up your cross and, like, denying yourself. But all of a sudden, it just gave me a whole new meaning, because I read it after I had an argument. I read it after I had an argument. And I was, like, feeling, like, gross. You know, like, how you fight with someone, and then you're like, ugh, I just feel weird now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'll read the passage and then what I got from it. So it's Matthew 16, verses 24 to 28. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone wants to follow me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life because of me will find it. For what will benefit someone if he gains the whole world, yet loses his life? Or what will anyone give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will reward each according to what he has done. Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." So, the part where he says, for what will benefit someone if he gains the whole world? And I was thinking about, like, I just had this argument, I was in the argument, and I'm like, when you're fighting, for me, I don't know, no matter who I'm fighting with, the main thing I'm thinking about is, I have to win this argument because I know I'm right. Which, there's lots of problems wrong with that thought, but we're not going to dig into that right now. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, why am I trying so hard to win this argument? Why am I trying so hard to win every argument? What are arguments doing? What is fighting doing? It's dividing us from our brothers and sisters, which God says he wants unity in his church. And I was thinking about this, deny himself. What does denying myself look like daily? Is it maybe not saying what I feel like I need to say, simply because my motive is to justify myself?
Yeah.
Like, and I wrote in my Bible, I wrote here, winning every argument won't get me into heaven. Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm not gonna go and I'm not gonna pray to Jesus and hear him talk back to me, and he's not gonna say, like, well done, Claire, you really won that argument, you really made your point. Like, that's not gonna happen. So, I don't know, that's just what I took from this time. It says, whoever wants to save his life will lose it. And sometimes when you're having an argument and you say, like, okay, like, I just don't want to fight anymore. For me, because I'm a person who's like, no, you need to know right and wrong. That's what losing my life feels like, is stepping back and saying, hey, like, we don't need to fight, you know? Winning an argument won't get you into heaven.
Wow.
Yep. That's the word. That's the word I heard.
It's wise.
It's wise.
It's good.
It's good. Okay. Okay. You first.
Okay. We're doing this episode on our testimonies, which we didn't mention before, I don't think.
No, it's fine. We're here now.
We're here now. And we're gonna share with you.
Just like I don't know what yours is. Mine's kind of brief.
Well, in the first episode, we kind of did a bit about us, so it was like a bit about our faith, but more about just like who we are. And this will be more centered around our faith, and less of like just, I don't know.
Just like how do we meet God and what brought us
What
here?
are the things that have been in your faith journey? Okay. Well, I think I should start with the fact that I grew up in a Jesus home. A Christian home. And I grew up going to church, and I think I had a pretty normal, I don't know, childhood. Part of me wishes that as a kid, like, we were never forced to read our Bible or forced to spend time with Jesus. Because, like, how do you force that on a kid? But part of me wishes that it, like, I would have been. Not forced and not, like, pushed into it, but, like, encouraged more.
Yeah, or, like, that if, like, Bible reading had been, like, a normal
thing
routine
that you do every day, then I think it would have been easier to start that. Because, like, when you get older, when you're a kid, it's so much easier to make habits and things last. Than when you're older, and it's not like we're old, but like
we're so
whatever.
ancient. We just live such long lives.
Yeah. So that, I don't know, it feels, I think that when I started reading the Bible seriously, which was probably just over a year ago.
Yeah, like, it's not been.
It hasn't been that long.
We've both been lucky enough to grow up in the church and stuff, but it hasn't been serious for us until fairly recently.
Yeah. So probably a year, because, like, a year ago, just over a year ago, I got baptized, so then I started reading more. But as a kid, I feel like if I would have read more, then it would have saved me a lot of trouble, maybe. Or maybe I would have, if I was pushed to read it, gone the other way. So I don't know. That was just a thought that I had.
Or, like, memorized scripture.
Yeah.
I wish I had prioritized that.
Yeah,
and, like, you do the weekly, like, oh, Sunday school, remember this verse, and you'll come back and you'll get candy. But, like, I wish I had done more.
Those were fun, and those were a really good idea for kids, but I don't remember them
right?
now.
And because all throughout the gospel, like, Jesus uses scripture as a weapon. And, like, I want to do that.
So that also memorizing is more recent. Trying to memorize different ones.
Yeah.
That are important to me, I guess. And what next? Oh, well, I guess that's kind of just my whole childhood. That's just the whole. It's kind of normal. I kind of didn't think about it. I asked Jesus into my heart when I was probably 8. Somewhere around there. I was older than 5, but younger than 10 in that range. And I think I did it a couple times just because I thought it was really awesome. But I didn't actually know what it meant, right? You never think about what it actually means. So then that was my whole childhood, and then right now, so a year ago, at the end of 2022, that was more than a year ago, I started feeling like I was being called to go deeper into something, but I didn't know what that something was because I'd never, I never, read the Bible. We read it in Sunday school and in church, but other than that, it's like you have it only to bring it to church.
Very surface level.
Yeah, which is sad. I started feeling like I had to go deeper into something, and I don't know how I figured out that something was Jesus, but I started not hearing like hearing, but having thoughts.
So what was hearing. That? Did you just have a gut feeling that was life is more?
I need more.
You need more.
Pretty much, yeah. I needed something that was not.
And it wasn't.
Not temporary? I don't know.
And it your first instinct wasn't it's Jesus? You just had an unnamed craving.
For something more. And then, I still prayed before bed and before meals and stuff. So before bed, then I guess I was just talking to Jesus in my head. And then I was baptism. And that was just something that popped into my head, and I was so then I started, I did a plan on my phone. And then I started, researching about it, and I talked to my mom about it. And I was this is something I want to do. This feels right. But I didn't feel like there wasn't a spot in our church, so then I was well, maybe I could do it, I don't know, at a pool or something. But then, start of 2023 happened, and the pastor from our church announced that we were gonna do baptisms in June, and we were gonna do them at the lake. And that was kind of crazy because I'd been talking about doing setting it up for somewhere around there anyways, and we were camping at the lake during that weekend anyway.
God was let me sync your calendars.
Yeah, so then I was oh, that's perfect, because we're there, and it's happening, and this is what I've wanted to do for a little while now. I guess it was only a couple months, but, when I thought about it first, then I seriously wanted to do it, so then I kept talking about it. And when we're, taught about baptism, well, I guess we're not really as, young kids until you just, you have an interest in it and you go to the classes and then you learn more. Or you read in the Bible. When we get baptized, it's, showing how much we love God to everyone else and, professing our faith.
Our pastor always calls it, an outward expression of an inward
reality.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I like that. But when I got baptized, I did not know anything near to what I know now. And when I got baptized, thinking back to it, it's I was such a baby. I didn't know so much. Because, I hadn't been, reading my Bible. That was kind of most people, it's your faith, and then you do that, and then you faith. But for me, it was baptism, faith. Yeah. It was kind of different, but I'm thankful that I did that, because I think that doing that, and after, I felt so light, and it's I can't even explain how I felt after. It's just light and free and so not happy, because happy's like, but joyful, I guess.
Joyful, yeah.
And after that, I don't know, I started reading my Bible and worshiping and going to church, but like, were we still going to GMC at that time? I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that, for me, that was really good for the start, because the worship there and the sermons, and I got so many notes and stuff. And after that, changed my life forever. I have a thing here. It says, it's crazy to think that at one point I was living to die. And most people are living to die.
That's crazy.
And before I was literally living to die. Which, I don't know, I keep saying the same thing over because
but
it's
like
just
that's,
like a...
And out of, like, innocence, too, and, like... And you weren't having, like, a bad life before that.
No.
You were enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But, like, having an enjoyable life does not get you to heaven.
No.
Whoa.
And even just being, like, a good person.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. That was the thought I had, and I was like, wow. Which is... It's crazy to think that so many people, they just... Because they just don't know. Then they're...
Well, that's why we're here.
Yeah. And now I'm living to live.
Yes!
So, yeah. But it's so much better. I think if you talk to anyone who's been baptized, they can say it's so much better. Like even if they're
or
not,
maybe not
baptized,
even baptized,
but in faith.
Yeah.
Living with Jesus is so much better than living without him. Because he has all the answers. He literally gives us the Bible, which is like a handbook for doing life.
Yeah.
He gives us the key to how to live. And we always think it's so complicated, but there's a lot to know. But he lays it out for us.
Yeah. It's simple but not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you understand if you know. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Oh, goodness.
Anyway, after I got baptized, I realized that lots of things in my life were not, like, being there as something that would help me be closer to him. It was just useless things of the world that were probably just taking my attention and my time away from him. So I started reading my Bible intentionally, which I've already said, and that changed me, because after starting doing that and, like, journaling, like, and talking to God and praying more intentionally, all of that, I started, like, hearing him and being able to have, like, conversations, which only comes out, like, when I journal, because then I write, and then you can see how he speaks to you, and it's actually really cool. Maybe we'll talk about that. Oh, look at that. And memorization. I started trying to memorize certain verses because, like you said, to battle, to fight. Because
doesn't it say that? Where does it say in Ephesians? It talks about the armor of God.
Yeah.
What is the sword?
The sword is...
Is it scripture?
I don't know. Is that...
Is it in Ephesians?
Oh.
No.
Actually, the first Bible verse that I memorized because I wanted to, not because I had to, because I wanted to have it memorized so that I could fight in the Spirit, was the 2 Corinthians 10:5, which says, "We destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God, and we capture all their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ."
Capture your thoughts.
Because thoughts are big, and they're a way that the devil can get to you so easily, and intrusive thoughts and everything. So memorizing scripture and spending time in it is definitely a way to battle And
So true.
also started, like, just, like, listening to things that were happening around me, not just, like,
The sword of the Spirit, that's what it says.
Spirit.
Mhm.
Spirit is the sword. I started listening to things around me, like, not just, like, lyrics to songs, but, like, movies, people, and conversations that happen around me, and I started, like, just thinking about them, and, like, it's almost like he rewired my brain, not to think, like, maybe not to be so naive, but just to be more careful. I don't know if that's the right word.
As innocent as doves, but as wise as serpents. That's
Yeah.
in scripture somewhere.
And so I had convictions about music for quite a while. And then I started, like, filtering out what I listened to and filtering out, like, certain things that I was watching or listening to, or, like, listening to people's conversations around me that were not helpful to me, I guess. And, like, what you listen to, I think we've talked about this before, but it seriously impacts you. Like, if you don't agree with that, I challenge you to try for a week to just listen to, like, worship music, and don't listen to swears, or don't watch anything bad. Just focus on Jesus for a whole week. Don't let anything of the world influence you for a week, and tell me that you don't feel different after the week, because I think you will.
I was actually talking about that when we went to a big youth conference with our youth group, and all we had been listening to, like, in all the sessions was worship, worship, worship. And then on the bus ride home, we stopped at a Subway, and we went into the Subway, and just secular music was just playing over the speakers, like radio station. And I literally walked in, and I heard it, and I just felt dirty. Like, it just felt icky. Like, in my, like, inside my body, it just felt disgusting. And I think I talked to that with the people that were in there with me, talked about it, but, like, yeah.
It changed you.
Like, I felt like, I
you.
truly felt like I'd never experienced that feeling before, like, from, like, Sunday, like, worship at church compared to, like, music on the radio back home from church. Like, I'd never felt that dramatic of a shift before, but I think it was because we were in such a spirit-filled place for such, extended periods of time, and the only music I heard was Christian music, other than, like, the karaoke, and that was all tame stuff, but it just felt gross.
Crazy. And one more thing that I realized was, like, worship, and not just, like, singing in church on Sunday, but, like, worshiping with your actions and your intentions, and, like, worshiping alone too. I learned that all these things, like, could bring me closer, so I started doing them. And then in church, one of the things that I realized was, like, I listened to some sermons, and some pastors talk about, like, worship, and how if you're, like, singing worship songs to the Lord, but you're not aligned with what you're singing, then it's not actual worship. Like, it's fake.
He says that, I don't know where it is, but he says something about, we talked about it in our Power of Words episode, that clean water and dirty water don't come from the same well, or something like that.
So if you're doing something that contradicts the song you're singing in church, then it's better to not sing it, because if you are singing that, but it's fake worship to God, then isn't that more, like, isn't that rude?
But also there's the perspective of, like, what if you, like, you sing it and you're like, oh, you feel conviction then.
Yeah, but you can feel conviction. Like, for me, if there's a song playing and I don't feel like I'm doing this in my life right now, I won't sing, because I because you already know that you are doing that, and you already feel the conviction if you know.
But what if you sing and you make it like a new promise to God?
Maybe. I don't know. Instead of singing, if I am not aligned with the song, I don't sing and I just pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll sing the songs that I feel aligned with, which, I don't know. There's power in worship.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. And I should also mention that last fall, I started taking a Bible study course with my mom and a bunch of people from our area, and it's called Freedom Session, and if you ever get the chance to take it, do take it, because it's amazing, and I can't explain it because it's too much, but it was, how many weeks? 30 weeks? How many months is that? We started in November and we ended in June.
That's 8 months.
It's long.
Which is 32 weeks.
We were meeting every week.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned so much. And by the end, like, it's called Freedom Session for a reason, because you end in freedom, and it's amazing. And if you have the chance, take it. I'm not going to rant about it all day. Oh, I have one more thing to mention, because this is actually recent.
Yeah.
And lately, I've been feeling, like, emptier. Like, I've been feeling that there's something in me that is not filled, which is strange, because everyone has a hole in them the size of Jesus. And
that's so poetic.
And when you fill it, then, like, when you have Jesus and when you're in a constant relationship with him, then it's full. But I think that the reason I was feeling empty, and I felt like the fire was not as, like, bright, I don't know. Anyway, so I was asking him for revelations, and we were talking about, like, I needed something more, which I was reading my Bible, and he always shows me things through what I'm reading. And it was because I was not, like, at the end of the day, if I had time, then I was spending my extra time with him. And I wasn't planning that. And, like, in, like, June or July, I'd wake up early to spend time with him, which was so good, but now working every day, and that's not an excuse, but I was just not focusing on it, and I think that was the reason, because as soon as I started, like, reading my Bible and spending time in worship and, like, in the secret place, then I started feeling better immediately, and yeah, so that's what I've been realizing lately.
Okay, I suppose that's me. My testimony will not be like Kedah's, because we are different people. And that is okay. I grew up in a semi-Christian home. I don't know what the right word is for it. We didn't go to a church until I was 6 or 7, maybe, which is still very, like, early in the childhood, but, like, I wasn't in it. So, my father was Ukrainian Orthodox, so when I was a baby, I was baptized into that faith, which has not, like, that was fine. That's kind of inconsequential in my life, to me. And I knew that God existed from an intensely young age. Like, like, from when I was 3. And not just like we go to church, we pray, like, no, like, I knew God existed.
There was never a doubt.
There was never, like, any doubt in my mind. Because when I was younger, I was in a car accident with my father when I was 3, almost turning 4. and he passed away in a car accident. And so, like, that was a whole thing. There's a whole story with it. But apparently, I don't remember it, but I kind of remember it, but not a lot. Well, after the car accident, like, right after, back in my house, my mom tells me that she was sitting there thinking, like, how am I going to tell this little girl that, like, her daddy is gone? And I apparently turned to my mom and just went, like, my daddy's dead, but it's okay because he's in heaven. And my mom was like, girl. Whoa. Because we had never, like, the extent of my exposure to Jesus up to that age was a Bible story, probably, every once in a while before bed. I don't know. I'd have to ask my mom for details. But it wasn't huge. So, like, for me, at that young of an age, to go, like, oh, no, he's in heaven, because, like, God and whatever, that's crazy, wacky, weird, crazy, wacky. And we were talking about the car accident 2 years ago, maybe, now, and I was talking to Mom, and I was like, oh, like, but there was lights on in the car. I can't remember it being dark in the car. And she was like, no, like, the truck was totally, like, it was smashed up. I was like, that's weird, because I remember, like, the accident, I remember it. I remember being in the truck and whatever, and there was not a single moment where it was dark, like, around me. So we were like, holy crap, an angel. And we still really believe that, because if the accident was crazy enough for, like, my father to have passed, but I came out of it with just little bruises from a seatbelt. And one of the directors of the funeral home that helped us out, came to my mom after inspecting, like, the car and whatever, and said there was a perfect ring of dust around my car seat where nothing had gotten in. So, like, an angel was, like, hovering over me. Which, how cool is that? So, that obviously sparked something in me that I didn't pick up on until I was a lot older. But changed my mom, obviously, because she's like, whoa, God. Anyways, but I'm not here to tell my mom's testimony. That's her thing. Anyway, so that's kind of a backstory, because it ties into a lot of things in my future. So from there, we go to a church in our town. It's good, it's great. I'm going to Sunday school. I asked Jesus into my heart when I was about 7-ish. It was fairly recent after we started going to church, because the worship team invited people to do so, and I was like, oh yeah, the cool people on stage like it, so I like it. And for me, it just felt like making a new friend. That's what it felt like. So I'm going about my merry life. I'm Christian. I'm going to youth. I'm going to church, and that's kind of it until I was about maybe in, like, grade 8, I'd say, maybe. So I was like 13, maybe. And I've always struggled with anxiety for as long as I can remember. But in grade 8, things got really rocky with friends, and just, like, and all of the friends that it got rocky with, I'm, like, best friends with now. So it's fine. Everything's fine now. But things got really...
It wasn't me.
No, she was gone. She was being homeschooled. Anyways, so I was getting... it was getting really difficult in my social life, and looking back on it now, it also coincided with the first time that I had ever really had exposure to social media, which was TikTok. I had downloaded TikTok because that was the thing. It was after quarantine. Everyone was TikTok this, TikTok that, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I had never struggled with, like, cussing or anything, but, like, you scroll on TikTok and every other video they're cursing, so, like, now I'm cursing in my head, and I was spiraling, and I was getting anxious, and I was feeling depressed, and like COVID was still a thing, and I was worried it was the end times. I was like, the world is ending. I am anxious, blah blah blah. And so it was really bad then. So all of a sudden I was like, you know what, maybe Bible. I have this thick old Bible, maybe I'll just like read it, because like that's what Christians do. And I was like, oh sure. So I started reading my Bible, and I was like, this God guy is so real. He's so real. And like I don't know, like I would just read, and I wasn't like gleaning much wisdom or knowledge from it at the time, but I remember just like reading my Bible and thinking like he wants to be friends with me. Like he wants this. This is good. Like when I sit down and read my Bible. So then I started like doing that, and I was kind of lukewarm up until recently, which not this past year, I don't know. What year is it? 2024?
Yeah.
So 2022, in December, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and her cancer journey lasted until like halfway through 2023. And that hit me hard. So hard. Obviously from the trauma of like losing one parent. Now your other parent gets sick, and you're like, oh my goodness, they can't die. Like, so I was in a very bad place again. Anxiety and like guilt, because I would spend my days just like an emotional wreck. Like completely. I couldn't do anything. Like I was just like so tightly wound and anxious the whole time. And I felt guilty because like, well, here's my mom and she has literal cancer. Like, why can't I just like buck up and like take care of her? And I felt a lot of guilt from that. And it got so bad that we decided I needed to see a therapist. So there's like Cancer Care sets up like family support and whatever. So I saw a therapist at a hospital close to us for a while, and it was like, okay. It was like, the whole time it was alright, and she was like giving me coping strategies, but I had this gut feeling that like, okay, like these are coping strategies, but like what? Like this is just what I'm supposed to do whenever I feel anxious, is just like breathe deep 3 times and like think about things I'm grateful for. Like those things help. I understand that they help, but like to me it just all felt very like not real. Like none of this is really gonna help. Like I was so hopeless and I was in a bad place. But then my mom, she got better, and I was like, oh, okay, so what, things are just normal now? I don't know, I felt really like lost and weird. But I'd had a lot of exposure to like really Christian filled places. Like I went to Bible camp and I was a counselor. So, like, at this point, like, I know who Jesus is, and I love him. I know he loves me. So I was kind of just going about my days, like, thinking about God, for a while. And then, after my mom's cancer, like, once her treatments and everything ended, I was like, okay, things feel stable right now. Now I can dedicate myself to learning more about God, which is not the right mindset, but that's how it went. And I was reading my Bible. I made a habit of it every day. It took me half a year, but I read a psalm a day, and I read through Psalms, and I was like, wow, read through Proverbs. And yeah, Bible study became more of a habit, and slowly I was like, this is good, this is God, this is real. And slowly, he started just, like, healing me. Like, taking the little parts of me that are, like, split in half and being like, no, it's okay. So, like, I've struggled, along with the anxiety, I've struggled a lot with comparison and self-hatred. Yeah. So, something he always draws me back to is that, like, because I've just viewed myself as having zero worth. Like, just none. Like, I've just hated myself and, like, not Like, everything about me is wrong. Somehow I had just decided that.
Mm-hmm.
But he always brought me back to, like, a place of, well, if that was true, then, like, I wouldn't have, like, kept you safe, like, in that car accident. Like, you could have gone out.
If you're not dead, then he's not dead.
Yeah, and it would have been fine. But, yeah, so I think something, I don't know, slowly he's just been, like, repairing. I think that's been my biggest battle, is the self-worth. And I still struggle with it every single day. Like, even now, just listening to Kedah's testimony, I was like, oh, she's so godly. Like, why am I not like that?
Yeah, but I didn't talk about any of my struggles. So.
I guess, true. I'm getting deep. Anyways. So yeah, he's just fixing me up. He's just fixing me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like you said, he's like rewiring your brain.
Mm-hmm.
He's working on that in me too.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like my default setting is just like, ugh, Claire, gross. But I'm learning I'm trying to like learn the biblical truths of like, no, like I'm loved.
Like memorizing scripture for battle.
Yeah, for battle. Cause it is a battle, girl. And like I said in my testimony, like if he hadn't died for me too, there would be like a little footnote in everyone's Bible under John 3:16 that says like everyone except Claire. And that's not there. That's not there. So yeah, I don't know. I got baptized recently in June. And leading up to it, I've just been like drawing just like closer and closer. I've, like you talked about, like convictions about music. I have felt those convictions about music since like the very first second I started reading my Bible, like 5 years ago.
It
like
changes
consistently.
you.
I felt those convictions.
Yeah.
I still feel the convictions about music because music is a huge part of me. And I'm trying to learn that, like, not the worldly stuff. That's not what God designed my desire for music to be for. And right now I'm trying to focus on prayer because I've never made prayer a priority, and it's so important. And I don't know, like the main prayer I've been praying since like a couple months before my baptism and up till now is I've been praying for God to change my desires, to shift my desires. And it's been working. Like slowly, like with the music, the conviction of music, like I've just slowly lost like the desire to listen to whoever and whatever and all these inappropriate songs, and like I don't know. For me, it's just like having a friend.
Yeah.
Like Jesus is my friend, and I'm like stepping in the water like slowly, and like as you keep walking, like a lake gets deeper, and like that's how I feel. Like I feel like if I just wake up every day and I decide like I'm gonna talk to Jesus today in my head, and like I'm gonna pray and I'm gonna read my Bible before I go to sleep, I'm gonna actively listen to worship music. I feel like that I just take those little steps, and like the visualization I have in my mind is like me walking into a lake, and I'm taking those steps of like, okay, I'm praying, why my foot goes down, I'm gonna talk to Jesus today, my foot goes down, and then like I'm walking deeper and deeper, but he and his Holy Spirit are like the tide and the current that like pushes me out farther than I think I could go with each step. And like eventually I'll just be like swimming underwater.
It's like the song Oceans.
I know. That'll be so cool. Worship is a huge part of my life. I do a lot of worship stuff. God took my talent for music and my desire to always be active in music, and he said, hey, because something, oh my goodness, it's so embarrassing. What? But, like, one of my biggest dreams has always been, like, to make music. Like, like my dream job would be, like, making music. But I was thinking to myself, I always thought, like, oh, I could, never actually do that, though, because the dedication and, like, the exposure and, like, going out into the world. I don't know, like, it just feels like such a big, just, like, unachievable. But since getting into worship and, like, doing it for God, it's felt like less of a big, scary thing. And, like that's, like, doing things for God, your possibilities are so much closer.
Yeah.
Anyways. So, yeah. I feel like that was really abstract and all over the place. But that's kind of just my personality, I think. So, that's me with God. And we're buds.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. Jesus is so cool.
He's just like a
He's
friend
actually... Wait, I made a footnote in my Bible.
already knows everything about you, but still wants you to tell him everything.
And he's like, come here. He's like, tell me about your day. Even though he saw everything.
Up.
Oh my gosh.
He's literally like, it's okay. Just you don't need to do that anymore. It's hurting you. And then
he's like, don't touch the spiky plant. It'll poison you.
And then you go and touch
and
it.
We're like, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's pretty.
And then you continue to test
this is what I said. And, like, he's a real person. Like, he's got a personality. And I was reading my Bible here when you said he's so cool. This is what I think of. I was reading the story where he's talking to Peter about these guys paying a temple tax and whatever. And he's like, go so that the temple people won't get offended. You can pay them their tax. But go out into the sea, catch a fish. The first fish you catch, open its mouth, and there'll be the coin you can pay the temple tax. I'd never heard pay the temple tax with. I'd never heard that story before.
Neither.
And I was like, what the heck? Jesus? You're taking Peter, who's a fisherman, and you're like, go, do something fun. Like, enjoy yourself. Go fishing. But the first fish you catch, open its mouth, free money. I'm gonna give it to you, and then you can pay your taxes. What the heck, Jesus? That's so cool.
That is so
Literally,
cool.
what?
I've never heard that. Wow.
Anyways. He's so cool.
He's our best friend. Thanks for listening.
I think that's it.
These were kind of our testimonies, but as we go through different topics, we'll talk deeper about them more than just brief.
I feel like you can't learn all about a person just from their testimony.
No.
It's just how Jesus has met them really quick.
Yeah.
And you're our friends. Whoever's listening to this,
yes,
it's probably our moms.
Thank you for listening.
But thank you. And we're just talking.
Yeah.
That's it.
And if you want to talk to us, you can put something in the comments. I think you can do that. I think you can do that, or you can email us.
Once we get some moolah, we'll figure out filming.
Yeah.
That's the goal, and we'll have a YouTube where you also see us.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay.
All for Jesus.
All for Jesus.